Take a look up at the sky and outside. Why? Might as well. Might as well. Might as well. Might as well.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Epiphany podcast.
Yo.
This is my brother Cullen, and I am Flo, and we're here to talk about some real stuff.
Yeah, we've been thinking about this for a long time, so we were just like, you just got to start sometimes.
Yeah.
We don't have everything set up yet, ready, but we'll get it figured out along the way. And
Yep.
I keep looking at that. I remember I got to look at the camera.
It's all right. It's our first podcast,
Yeah.
so
Right.
and that's just what it is. But no, I am genuinely glad that we didn't just sit there talking about it forever. Feels like forever, but hey, we took the first step, and hopefully you guys stick around for the ride. Want to get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So the topic we're going to be discussing, and maybe a few others, but to start, we're going to be talking about addiction and just our experiences with it, the downfalls, the downsides of it all, the effects it's had on our life, and the lives of others who are near to us. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll get started. For me, some of the big things, I wrote them out on my phone. I'll take a look real quick.
Okay.
Some of the big things for me, anybody who's an addict can say just relationships is the biggest thing that take the hit. Mm-hmm. I think about my family. I think about the past exes I've had. I think about, just all those kind of relationships, friendships, all that kind of stuff. The biggest thing I can't stress enough for me, it was just wow, I just keep messing up relationships, things just keep happening and I just keep thinking about myself and not other people. And it really takes a toll on just your overall well-being besides the drugs, of course. But yeah, mentally, of course.
No, I hear you. Even now it's a struggle because I feel a sense of guilt for it all.
Uh-huh.
And I also feel a sense of guiltiness that I don't live up to the standard that I want to now that I am sober.
I hear that for
sure. You feel me? And it makes me feel sometimes maybe you were better off as an addict, but that's...
I get those voices, bro. I was getting those voices today, bro.
That's
you
just
get
what
those,
it is,
it's
bro.
Dang, maybe I should go back. But
Yeah.
it's no,
what a
bro.
lie.
It's such a lie.
Yeah. I just feel like for 4 years there, I wasn't present in my brother's lives, and yet they love me. Just eternally, they love me.
Mm-hmm.
With my mom, I try to spend time, but I do not spend enough time. And I think it was just such a disruption that it feels normal now because I built that up. So now it's just a struggle of renewing that relationship.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but my parents would look at me and say, hey, you're completely different. I'm sure your parents would say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to us, it's hard.
Yeah. I think that's the truth about everything, especially when you're changing, you are you. So people see your changes outside way differently than what you see, you're you all the time. So it's you don't always see when things change. Cause for me, a little difference between me and him, I was in it less than a year ago, I'm pretty fresh on my at least latest streak of sobriety. So it's just I think about where I was a year ago, even 6 months ago. It's just wow, I really am different. I really have made I still slip up in places. I'm not perfect. I'll never claim to be perfect. But it's just if you look back and see who you are, you'll see it.
Yeah.
You will see it.
Who you were.
Who you were, exactly. Yeah.
And for those of you who do know me, my testimony, and I was just in a coma a little over a year ago, and that's one thing I got to do. I'm not going to say daily, but at least once a week I see it on my camera roll, just a video of me with tubes in my throat, and I'm I am farther along than that.
Exactly.
But sometimes it just doesn't feel like it, whether it's my attitude or mental health or feeling like I'm just as depressed as I would be even if I was using, or I was when I was using. But the truth is, I'm not that far bad, or that far gone.
Just thinking about you talking about pictures coming up. I just realized a year ago today I was in New York, right? Yeah. And I went to a lot of parties out there. But I just realized I remember there was this specific party that I remember, bro.
Yeah.
Because it was like one of the only parties I went to where there were like famous people there,
Yep.
bro. Not famous people, like like some TikTokers. Like,
Yeah.
Like you know Wisdom K,
Uh-uh.
the fashion dudes. Okay, so he's one of them. I'm trying to think who else people would know. I don't know. There were some random TikTokers there. You know, they'd walk in the door, everybody would
Had some
cheer.
clout.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. But I remember it was literally this day a year ago. You know who Nikita Dragon is, bro?
I know the name. I do. Yeah.
Bro, she walked into the party. This is no lie, bro. Like, this isn't even a flex. This is just like the craziest thing. A year ago today, she walked into the party. She was, off her rock or whatever.
Yeah.
And, me and my friends are just chilling on the couch, and she comes over. I don't know if she came over to me or because it was like a studio apartment in New York.
Yeah.
Just super big. And I think I went over to the kitchen, and she was in the kitchen. And then she hands me a shot glass, bro.
Yeah.
And she's like, bro, take this shot. And I don't have the video anymore because I deleted my Snap, or else I would show you guys. Yeah. But, bro, a year ago today, I took a shot with Nikita Dragon, bro.
And now you're making a podcast.
Weirdest stuff. And now I'm like sober, bro. Like, I don't even, like today we had an engagement party, and I was making a joke with my sister just about drinking, and it was just like, it doesn't even like cross my mind like that anymore, I mean, cool. I'm not saying that I'm like completely, I never think about drinking again, but it's just like, back in the day, I remember I just would have been like finding all the ways, to just like sneak stuff and all that kind of stuff, which brings me to my next point, actually.
Yeah.
It's just like the sneakiness of it, bro.
Yep.
And just how much like, it starts off fun and you're conniving and doing all that kind of stuff, but like
it gets real quick.
Yeah, it catches up with you real quick.
Yep. Yeah, I had 2 ex-addicts as my parents, and so they both worked for Teen Challenges. So they were used to searching rooms. They knew every hiding spot possible. Plus, they were addicts, so they know all the tricks too. They know when you're lying. And I used to think I was slick, hiding boxes of Benadryl and DXM and whatnot in my vents, and they would find it every time. Or like hiding stuff on my mattress, or just like finding little like pockets in my clothes, and they just always found it. Yeah, little holes in drawers or whatever it may be. It's just that sneakiness.
Well, that's the thing about me. My parents. So just a little backstory. My parents were like. Not my parents, my dad. He was like a mastermind, bro, at catching like me and my siblings. Like my brothers will claim that they didn't get caught as much. Like I know I easily got caught the most out of all my siblings, and probably arguably did the most stuff. But it's just like there's very few things that I even got away with. Yeah. And I always think like, oh, I'm being so smart and all this stuff. And my dad would always just be one step ahead of me, bro. Yeah. I don't know where that came from or like what, but he was just good on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Bro.
And that might even be God's grace.
For real.
Who knows? I mean,
100%.
I just remember my mom and my stepdad would just like, they had these senses. Like if I would sneak someone in the house, bro, like they would just wake up at like midnight or 1 a.m. or whatever and come downstairs, and Brian's grabbing a snack, and he just has a feeling to walk down to the basement, and he catches my bro Eli in there, like just little things.
I never got caught with people stuck in, bro. I got caught snuck out, but not in. Not a chance.
Just little random things like that. It was just like why did you wake up? Just I don't know. But then it got to a point where I didn't even hide it anymore.
Yeah,
or
me too.
To where it got to a point where they were so used to me being high that like it was normal for me to be high, and so they couldn't really tell whether I was high or sober. And that's kind of how it was near the end.
It was different. My family always knew, just because, it's funny because I'm doing a podcast right now, but I'm really not even the most talkative person, I am. But I'd always be high, and I'd always just like be talking hella. Like
I would just be,
I'd be saying everything. But yeah, so they would always know when I was high, because I remember there was this time back in 2020 we were quarantining, and this was after a stretch of sobriety for me, and I started smoking again, and I brought all this stuff to my cabin where we were quarantining, and I just remember every dinner I'll, take my hits out of my car and go up to dinner, and I'd just be like talking, bro, saying everything, and then like, I don't know, it was probably like a week later, they're like, we know. Like there's something up. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of those times where we're just like, oh, a little too much,
So that kind of made me think of something of like, was it a certain like, I don't know, did like the drugs make you more comfortable in your skin?
Yeah, 100%.
Is that something you went searching for?
I guess I would say yes.
Yeah.
And no. so obviously, you know, their drugs, they masked a lot of stuff, you know. Back before I started, I was struggling with depression and anxiety a lot back in like sophomore year and all that kind of stuff. And things got really dark. And once I started using, you know, it really just like, I don't want to say it went away, but
just covered it.
Yeah, it made it a lot easier and all that kind of stuff. And what I realized is, you know, you're just focusing on the next high and, you know, doing this and doing that. So it's just like, it really just gives your mind something to be busy about, you know what I mean? So that was a big thing for me. And another thing I think was just like, I loved the way because my drug of choice was weed. Yeah. So I love the way my mind thought when I was high, which I still struggle with that a lot right now because it's like, wow, you know, when I was like, this is completely, I mean, it is kind of related, but I took my ACT high.
Yeah.
I took it twice. The first time I was high, the second time I was sober. I got better score when I was high. That's what I mean, bro. Like my mind, it literally felt like my mind was better when I was high, which wasn't the case. Like the long-term effects, obviously not. But there was just certain little things like that where I really felt like, wow, I'm like, you know, what's the song? Travis Scott, you know, he said, stop trying to be God, bro. That was me when I was high, bro. It's just like, stop trying to be God, bro.
Well, it's a certain carefulness that comes with it too, maybe. That I mean, it's like people say they drive drunker or better when they're high. Yeah. I don't know about being drunk. But
I crashed my car when I was high, bro.
Like, it's just a certain, like, you know, trying to pay attention. And that probably goes for like 2 out of 10 people. But like, I can relate to certain things like that. And I pretty much did everything high. Yeah. And that's the point that I got to, you know?
Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely.
Well, this is kind of dark, but what it turned to for me was just a comfortableness in my sin and a comfortableness in the thought of death. And that wasn't necessarily with weed and all sorts, although it does give you a kind of I don't give a crap attitude, right? But when I started doing the Percocets, I knew they were pressed. The way it started was I was getting real oxys and Vicodin stuff from like my grandparents, you know, whatever, drawer or cabinet. But then I couldn't get that anymore, and I was going and buying fake stuff. And I used to be the one that never used fake stuff. I'd be like, oh, you popping fakes, I get the real. Well, I got to a point where I was searching for it. I knew it wasn't real, but I didn't care. Yeah. And I'd say a prayer before I did it and whatnot. You know, then it eventually caught up to me, but I stopped caring about my life. I didn't care whether I lived or died. And that's something that the drugs, I don't know if it necessarily masked it, but it just masked like my attitude towards life. I just didn't see it as a precious thing. And I kind of just gave up on myself, and I wanted everyone else to give up on me. Yeah. Yeah, so. I got that too, for sure. I think, like, again, I go back to New York. That was kind of the biggest point for me of just like, I don't care. I was the kind of guy who was like, you put it in front of my face, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I tried everything I could out there because I don't know why. I just had this feeling of, you know, why not? Yeah. And yeah, I think that attitude especially leads down a really dark place just because, you know, I mean, I've done a lot of things, but luckily I didn't do anything like too crazy, like no heroin or meth or anything. But it's just like, even the stuff I did do, it was like why, bro? Like I remember like there's some things I didn't even like, and it would just be like, oh yeah, I just do it, and it's just like, I think that also translates into other areas of your life, you know. So it's just like, you know, it's that feeling of apathy that you're talking about, but it's also just like, yeah, you know, whatever comes. Go, you know, it just comes to me, I'll do it or whatever. You know, it's just such a feeling of like, you lose control. I guess that's what I would say. It's just like the loss of control is so huge, and you don't realize it, but it's like, it really is there. Yeah. 100%. It's a life of recklessness, really. Yeah. I mean, and just going back to the growth thing, it's like, man, like what would we be doing if we were still in our addiction? Would we be doing this right now? Or would we be trying to find a party that was lit and getting drunk and then waking up tomorrow hungover? Exactly. Like the productivity, being sober is something to value. And that's one thing I noticed that, I mean, I would have said that I was a productive addict. You know, I worked at Chipotle, held a job, whatnot, but my life was in shambles in a sense. But I think being sober kind of gives you that, what is the word? Like a routine? Yeah. Maybe?
100%.
Yeah.
Just going off of that, I think just being a young addict, you get that luxury of your life. I mean, you can mess up your life, but you really can't mess up your life that much farther than like jail or death.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, especially before 18, you don't even get like, I mean, you can get felonies, but
the charges don't stick.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't stick. So it's like, I think for me and you know, you get that luxury of being an addict that was young. So a lot of the, you know, I remember when we were in treatment, there were like people losing their families and there were people losing their jobs. Like, and it's just like, that's another point I had on here is just me and you, I think we're just very fortunate to experience it all at such a young age and now be here in the place where we're getting out of it also at a young age, you know, because we still got time, bro. Like we can, like I'm 20 years old, bro. You're 21. We can do whatever, bro. And it's just like, and I have that past where I can remember that kind of stuff. So now it's like, you know, maybe I'll go to the parties or whatever, or even just like people invite me and I know better now. And it's just like, I don't want to say other kids don't, but they don't have the experience that I had, you know, like they didn't go through like many treatments and all throughout their high school. So where like, you know, they saw the other side of it. A lot of people don't get to see the other side of it.
No.
And I think a lot of times that's what gets them, you know, in that cycle.
Yep. Where was I going to go with that? I was going to say, does a part of that scare you that you're so young? Because I know sometimes I still feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
Like there's so much time that I have to be sober now. How am I going to do that? Like just like, for not foreshadowing, but just looking so far into the future when like really I'm in the present and can't. Yeah.
You know, every time I hear that, you know, because I've been asked that question before. You remember George from the Redemption House? Yeah, he'd come out on Fridays, and I remember the very first time he met me, he said, you know, we were talking, I was telling him my story a little bit, and I was 19 at the time.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, wow, you're young, you know. And then he said, like, you know, if you go, because I was planning on going to college, like going to school back then, and it was like, you know, if you go to college, are you ready to be that sober guy?
Yeah.
And when he said that, bro, like something in my mind was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's going to be me. Like, I'm going to be, if I do go to parties, you know, I'm going to be the one, oh, no, I don't drink, you know, I don't do that kind of stuff. And it's like, it does scare me a little bit. You know, I get a little feeling of FOMO, but the older I get, the longer I get into sobriety, I realize, you know, there's fun in it. Like we were saying before, it starts off fun, but really it's really not. Like, it's really take it or leave it on the backside. Maybe right now it's like, oh my gosh, everybody's doing it, I need to be in it. Yeah. But like when we're 30 with kids and everything, bro, like people are just going to look back on those years like, oh yeah, it was a fun time in college. Like they don't remember it really. You know what I mean? So
if they make it to those years. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just like, for me, it's just like, yeah, I do struggle with that a little bit. Just the longer I get into it, it's just like, it's whatever, bro. Yeah. Like, and I remember another thing he also said is no one ever regrets getting sober, bro. Like maybe they regret like staying in it, you know, regret all. I hear a lot of times like, oh, I wish I was young like you. I could have gotten so, you know. No one ever regrets getting sober, bro. Like, find me an addict that says they regret it. Yeah. So that's a big thing that plays in my mind as well when I get those thoughts. Yeah. No, and I get that. Yeah, let's move on to another point. Kind of just going back to relationships and friends. Yeah. How much did you realize that the people that you were using with weren't really your friends? Like, do you ever remember having a moment of that? Like, yeah, 100. And I don't know if it was necessarily the drugs or anything, but I think it was once I started coming to Christ. Yeah. I don't know if it's in 1 John. I'm totally botching it, but it says you are not loved you are hated because the world hated me first. Yep. Once I started coming to Christ, I would start, preaching Christ and preaching like the revelations that I had and how I just started recognizing how real he was and how real Satan was. Also, once that started happening, the friend group just kind of ended in shambles. They disappeared, started their own thing. And I was just kind of a lonely Christian for a long time. And I was still in my addiction off and on. But God met me there. And that's when I realized that it just wasn't real. Yeah. And I think one of my old friends is now like 9 months sober. One has been a fentanyl addict for the past year. But it seems like he's trying to get his life together. But besides that, I don't know where they are. Yep. And that's okay.
God plucked me out, and it seems like he's doing that with a few others. But yeah, I remember there was a sense of loneliness there, and I don't know. Yeah, good question though.
Yeah, for me, like especially looking back at it, it's just like, wow, I really did have I don't want to say terrible friends, but it's just like they really didn't care about me like friends should care about friends at the end of the day. Like, there's just a lot of instances I think about where it was like, wow, this really happened, like crazy. Yeah. But yeah, I would just say like, there's a specific experience for me is why I ask you the question. I mean, I was on drugs at the time. I was on shrooms, and I just remember it was just one of those realizations where like, I don't even remember how to completely put it to words. It was just like, these people, like, not that they're not good people or anything like that. Like, I don't want to talk down anybody I used to hang out with, but it's just like I said, they really just don't care about me. Yeah. Like, I'm just disposable. Like, I'm here to do drugs. Yep. Like, that's the reason I'm here. And I just remember this feeling of like, wow, like, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep putting myself in this situation? Like, and I remember because I was with this one girl, and we were, all doing shrooms together, and I just remember it felt like eyes were watching me, and it felt like they were talking behind my back and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know if they were, maybe they were, who knows? But it was just like, wow, like they really like. It just really brought it to light to me, and literally since then. I mean, I don't want to say I've never seen them, but like I just don't really hang out with them like that. You know what I mean? Like I see a few of them who I really liked here and there, but that experience was just very influential in my life. It was just seeing, and I wasn't even getting sober after that. That was just like I was still in it, but I was realizing that these really aren't my friends. So, yeah, that's just why I asked that question, I guess. I had that written down. Yeah,
like, I mean, what, are they calling you up because you have weed? Mm-hmm. Or are they calling you, like, I mean, what are you guys doing when you're not smoking? What are you guys doing when you're not drinking? What are you doing when you're not high? Yeah. Is there anything to do? I just remember it was just always about, like, yo, where can we get the weed? Where can we go? Da-da-da, does he have this? Do we have, like, it was just, the fun was the drugs. Mm-hmm. There was no fun without it. We weren't going to a lake. We weren't doing it. No, we were just riding around and getting high all day. Yeah. That was fun. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how things change.
Yeah, for sure. And wow, where was I going with that? Yeah, I was just gonna say, when I do meet up with them now, it's like, because I still want to love on them, I still want to show them love, and it's just like you said, what is there to do? Yeah. Like it's almost like you realize, wow, we didn't even have that many interests in common. No. Like we just did drugs together.
It was the high.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I got that a lot, just like seeing them after the fact, like, wow, like we really, not that I really didn't like you guys, but we really just didn't, have that much in common.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You want to move on to some of those kind of random ones?
Yeah,
or we can
sure.
keep it on this too. Maybe it kind of has to do with the red pill. Waking up.
Yeah, bro. I remember I've been watching a lot of those Red Pill podcasts, bro. Yeah. Not because, here's the thing, bro.
Are we getting deep now?
Do we want to get into it? Because I'll get into it.
Yeah.
It's just like all this stuff about, there's this, what's his name? Mike on the Impulsive podcast. You know him?
Yep.
There's this video of him talking about how people are so quick to, they're so quick to red pill you, bro. They're so quick to everybody's so quick to run to liberalism, and I guess that would be the blue pill at this point, and then red pill you, and it's just like, just chill out, bro. Like let people figure it out. I think there's just I think that's just the world we live in. There's just such a
divide.
Yeah, such a divide and such a press to indoctrinate people, bro. Yep. Whatever it is, bro. Like people just want you to think what they think, bro, and. I guess that's just one of the big things I've been seeing about these red pill things. It's just like, bro, just like chill out a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And each individual has their own, ideology, and everyone thinks they're the most woke. And everyone thinks they have the right answer. Mm-hmm. And me as a Christian, I'm going to say that Jesus is the answer and the Bible has the answers. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you say that, then, and
then you're trying to indoctrinate.
That's what I'm saying. So it's kind of a tricky line, but with the truth that we know, that is the truth for us, but not everyone is going to see it that way. Yeah, I mean, there's many routes you could go with the red pill, but like what really woke you up to the spiritual reality? When did that happen?
For me?
Yeah.
So honestly, I mean, I would say just for me, I've always, not always, but for most of my life, I've been a Christian, 100%. Yep. I would always say that. I've known Jesus and all that kind of stuff. But the point that it got real, honestly, I would say it was my ex-girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, when because she wasn't Buddhist, but I think her family was Buddhist, you know, and that's what she learned so she never knew anything about Christianity, basically. Mm-hmm. And it was just my parents speaking to her about the gospel and everything, and it coming to life to her. I don't want to say that she was the reason that, you know, I came back to my faith, but it was just like seeing her understand it and seeing that change her life, and her just even the little things that I, you know, overlook, like just, you know, Jesus dying on the cross for you. Like, you know, to me, I've known that my whole life. But if you think about it, that is a really big thing. Like people, a lot of times, like, you know, it just becomes a small thing, but it's not that. So I think, just for me as of late, you know, in my, you know, newfound relationship with Jesus, just like seeing her and studying with her and enlightening her to the things that I've already known, but to a new person and how they're new to her, I think that's really what illuminated in my soul, especially. Yeah. And then just kind of side part. Another part was just back in the Redemption House, actually, when I first got there. I was just reading the Bible a lot and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember those first few weeks of just like, wow, like I can really have this life. I can be different and all that. And sadly, it went away after that. I mean, not went away, but I kind of stopped pursuing it and got into some stuff. But it was just like, I remember that especially too, where it was just another time of, wow, this is really being illuminated to me. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, kind of like you. I mean, so my mom got saved when I was 7 years old. I started going to a school called Hope Academy. And I would have said it was very real to me then. But then I got expelled in 8th grade for selling Adderall. Then I started going to a public school. It was my first taste of that. And then I went to Armstrong. And I just got turned on to the wrong crowd. And then from there, I just ignored it all. I knew it. You could have said I was a good kid, turned bad, and that's just kind of what happened. And I spent the next 4 years just in and out of treatment, getting kicked out of my mom's house, bouncing around houses. And then I had this, whatever you want to call it, vision, dream. I'm not really sure. I don't even remember whether I was sober or high, but it scared me. And I just had this revelation that like hell was a real place. That's what I saw and that's what I felt, and I never wanted it. It didn't turn me off from everything, but that's just kind of what woke me up. And I started watching these YouTube channels where they were talking about this spiritual world, and I didn't really, you know, you hear about Satan, you hear about demons in the Bible, but it was not real to me at that point. Hearing them talk about it and the ways the devil creeps in with thoughts or through friends or whatever it may be, I started seeing it in people, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And then that's when the sleep paralysis began, and I was like, oh, so there's a real war being fought. Just little things like that. And then I started talking about it and seeing it in the magazine, the magazines, the news, the movies, the symbolism in music videos, all of it. I just started seeing, hey, Satan is having a field day. I just recognized it as real. But I still had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I just started talking to my friends about it. They all left. I was lonely. And then I was just doing Percocet and listening to John Piper sermons at the same time. Like, really? And that was my life. And then, you know, I just remember I'd be driving, crying, about to go buy Percocet, because I just always had visions of death. And I was like, this might be the time. And I just left my mom's, I'd give my brother a hug and all that. And I'd snort it and nothing would happen. And I'd do it again and again. And then ended up in a coma, popped out, went to Redemption House, and I've been sober since. But that's only by God's grace. And, you know, I have more of a revelation each and every day. You hear about the rumors of wars, see what they're doing with the sexuality, the indoctrination, everything. And now I just see it. And I don't ignore it, but it does not, I would say it doesn't cause me great stress. I'm not super involved in all the politics, but I just see it for what it is.
For sure.
And if you want to call that red pill, you can call it that. I just call it like an epiphany.
Yeah. Yeah. Just going back. Sorry, a camera's saying something.
Uh-oh.
All right. Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying, you talked about that experience you had just with realizing that hell was real. And I've told you this story, you know, and just how much that piece was a part of it. I had a night as well like that. It wasn't a vision. I was, again, on drugs. But there was just this night I was really off of it. And I just remember this feeling of separation from God. And it was like, and I was at a point in my life where I wouldn't even say I was close to God. You know what I mean? He obviously wasn't not there, but I just wasn't close with him myself. And it was just like this feeling of, I still don't know how to put words to it, bro. I really wish I could, but it was just like, I was literally like, it was like, I can't even explain it, bro. I was literally away from God. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, this is what hell is. And that was another thing. I was on so many drugs that I thought I was dead. I really did that. I think I was dead at that point. Yeah. So I was like, dang, like I'm in hell. And I just remember like how empty and scary and and how alone that feeling was of just like, you know, he's not here. Yeah. And yeah, so for me, I also had an experience, and sadly that didn't turn me yet, but that was just another piece of it, of me just like realizing, wow, there really is, you know, like you said, spiritual warfare, and there's another plane out there that people don't, you know, not other people realize. Or
they realize it, but they are attracted to it. Yeah. At least the dark side.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, you see witchcraft is booming now. I mean, everyone's practicing it, whether they know it or not.
Exactly.
Whether they want to put their faith in the stars, the galaxies, they want to put their faith in a rock or a tree, whatever it may be. Energy, vibes, whatever, you know? They think they're woke.
Yep.
Right? So, and that goes back to everyone has their own ideology and everyone thinks they're correct. So at the end of the day, you got to figure it out. And it's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Or something's got to be revealed to you. Yeah.
You know, I've come to really hate that word, woke. I don't know why.
What mean?
Like, I remember back in like freshman year or whatever it was for me, people would say, like, you're sleeping on me, you know, like, stop sleeping on me. Like, I'm on the come up, you know what I mean? And now woke has turned into, like, this whole thing, bro. It's just, like what does it even mean, bro? Yeah. Like, I don't know, bro. There's just, I just hate that, like, oh, you're woke, or, oh, they don't know, you know, they're asleep. But it's just, like, what even is that, bro? Really?
And is it a positive word or a negative?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess it's just how you interpret it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know my parents always hate on the word, just because, you know, some people associate it with just like liberalism and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I know it's not that for sure. Yeah. Not to, you know, talk bad on that, but it's just like, all right, that's not it. Yeah. Of all of it. But yeah, that's definitely it's an interesting time you live in, you know?
It is.
Just with all this, the amount of information that all of us have, I think, is the biggest thing. That's just like no other generation have had this before, bro.
And Revelation talks about that. It said knowledge shall be increased.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we're at, you know?
Yeah. People just think they know everything, bro. And that's the thing. I remember I had a Bible teacher back in my high school. He I can't really do it right here, but he talked about this diagram where basically it's a circle, right? Like knowledge is a circle. And the diameter, what is it? The diameter is the things that you do know. Yeah. And the circle is the things that you do know. So the bigger the diameter, the bigger the circle. Yeah. So the more things you know is the more things you don't know. And I think a lot of people don't realize that and don't look at it like that. Yep. So that's definitely a big part of it. Yeah.
Can girls and boys be friends?
That's a good one.
Or on the high value men and women, that's kind of a red pill.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should we get into that?
Let's go friends.
Okay. Next topic. Can girls and guys be friends?
It's interesting you bring this up, bro. It's interesting we bring this up. You know, I know what I think. I know what I know. I'm not going to say my answer yet. I'm going to talk it out a little bit.
Build it up.
You know,
King.
But I just think about, I wish I could, maybe I will put this in, but there's this video I watched and TED Talk, and it was this guy who studies just, what did he call it? Basically the mating, not techniques, the mating,
I actually think I just watched this. Did
I think you said it to me.
I did.
Yeah, you sent it to me.
I was about to say.
It was the Matt Chandler thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so they were just talking about how, like, basically what it was is men are so horny, like, this is non-Christian men that they surveyed, but men are so horny, and I think it was like, what, 70 to 80% of them said yes to a random girl asking them to have sex.
Yep.
And it's like, if men are out here saying yes to a random girl to have sex with them, you really think they can be just friends with a girl and not even think about it? And I'm not saying no man can, obviously, but the vast majority of men, bro, I know there's another video of, what's his name? It's going to come to me. The dude on Family Feud. Steve Harvey.
Oh, okay.
Steve Harvey's talking about, he said, I guarantee you call up any one of your closest guy friends and you offer to have sex with them.
Yep.
Bro, I'm behind it too. 9 out of 10 times they will say yes.
Yep.
And I think that's something that people don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
And it should definitely be a big part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's not even to say, sorry, I don't need to just keep talking, but that's not even to say that, like, you can't be friends in that situation, you know, because then that just comes down to self-control. But I think, like I said, that should be a big part of the conversation. You know what I mean?
And whether a man can execute self-control, I guess. And I mean, I don't know. Matt Chandler just got in trouble for it.
Yeah.
He didn't get in trouble. He told on himself pretty much. But it's like, biblically, I suppose, I don't know. I mean,
we had this conversation.
It's tough.
Jesus had a best friend, Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, it's tough though.
So it's like, but Jesus was perfect.
Yeah, I know.
That's what you got. That's what you got to remember.
Tempted in every way we were.
So, yeah, I don't know. I hate, because I remember I told my exes too. It was just like, yeah, I honestly don't think I can be friends with women. But the more I get away from just, the more I grow. Yeah. I talked to you about this. It's just like, I feel like at some point you do need that though. Like, I feel like it's not bad. I would say it's different when in relationship and out of relationship, right? So if you're having a whole bunch of, like, the whole boy best friend thing, girl best friend thing, when you have a significant other, my thing is, they should be your best friend. Yeah. Bro. You don't need a boy best friend, a girl best friend. Not saying you can't be friends, but it's just like, I don't know. I had an ex like that way back in the day where she had these boy best friends, and I'm just like, why, bro?
And they low-key flirting on
exactly,
the
bro. I was like, oh, they would never. But it's like, I guarantee you right now, give them the option, and they bet they would.
Yeah. And she may not show interest, but he may be very interested, and she may like to know that he is interested.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just kind of how it goes.
Love the attention.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I guess regarding this question, I don't want to be the one to just say, like, no. Yeah. Don't be friends. But it's like, I think you just need to, especially when in relationship, you need to think long and hard about it. Yeah. I guess that would be my answer. For me, when I'm in a relationship, I would say no. Yeah. Outside of relationship, I would say if I should be able to maintain a friendship with the other sex without, having all that. Just being a Christian and having the struggles I've been through and all that kind of stuff, I think I should be able to. Yeah. But like I said, not everybody's perfect. No. Yeah. What would you say?
I would say it's a very tricky line. My main instinct is to say no, but at the same time, then you could get into like, well, sexuality. Is the girl's like best friend, like, is he gay? Like totally just unattracted to women? Well, in that case, they probably are friends. And at the same time, me and Haley, if you watch this, you know what it is. It's like, we started out as friends. You were dating Eli, and then outside of that, me and you became very close because you became very close to my mom, and there is no attraction there. And so that's why I say is like I can't say completely no, but I guess it depends on circumstances, self-control. I'd really just say circumstances is bottom line. Yeah, I was about to say no, but then I always think about that. I'm like, bro, it's literally. It's a tricky line. It's a tricky line.
And I would go out on a limb. Maybe not.
Is this limb sturdy, dude?
Maybe not.
Is it about to break? What?
I'll let that thought go.
Okay. We'll talk.
Yeah.
No, it's hard though.
It's hard, bro. Especially at this age, bro.
Yeah, like, and that might circumstances again.
Because I feel like in high school it was a little different, but I feel like
just being kids, maybe younger than high school.
Yeah. But I feel like when you get into this young adult stage, especially in the culture that we're living, where literally everyone is having sex, it's just like it gets a little funky.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's for you to decide and you to contemplate. Like I said, I don't want to just say, no, don't be friends with women, don't be friends with guys. You know what I mean? No. That's not realistic at the end of the day. But yeah, and I think, like I was going back, if you have a significant other, I think that's between you and your significant other as well. Yeah. And who you guys can agree on being friends with and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's my answer.
All right, cool. Where to next?
You want to talk about your music a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. What do you want to know?
All right, this is now an interview. Yeah, just tell me, you just dropped an album.
I did, Love and Drugs on all platforms.
Go stream it.
Florence Mays.
Yeah, what is music making like after the album? You know what I mean? Because, we've talked a little bit just about, you go into it.
Yeah. I would say I'm really in an experimental phase of just like finding my sound. There's certain songs where I'm like, yep, I really like that. There's some where I'm like, I don't know. It's tricky because like I don't want to just fit into some certain box either. I was actually talking to my producer Hero about it, shout out Lost Hero, last night. He was like, what kind of beats should I make for you? And I was like, dude, if I like it, I like it and I can ride on it.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. I don't want to be like these rappers where like their beat comes on and it's just that specific beat. You look up a Lil Baby type beat, sounds like a Lil Baby type beat, Gunna type beat. And that's cool. They got their little thing. But I mean, when that kind of rap or that kind of sound dies, where are they? Well, that's why I want to play around with alternative beats. That's why I want to play with these, whatever, R&B beats or old school hip hop beats, because like I want to be able to change with the times. I think that's what timeless music is. Maybe not so. I don't know. But what is recording like right now, I'm just really focusing on like, okay, what can I deliver for the next project or these singles for the bi-weeklies or now it's really, okay, I need music videos. I need to get my face out there. People need to know. Or what about vlogs or what about podcasts like we're doing right now? What is Florence really like outside of his music? Yeah, I hear his lyrics and whatnot, but what is he really like? Is he funny? Is he shy? Is he whatnot? Who does he hang out with? What are his friends like? That's what they want to know. They want to know who you are. Once you develop that personal relationship, you've got a fan base. They like you for you. So, or hopefully.
Yeah.
Not, whatever.
Going back to something you said, you just talked about how you don't want to be stuck in a box.
Yeah.
And I think I see that a lot, especially in the rap community.
Yep.
Just about people saying, one, this artist always sounds the same. You know, I've heard Lil Baby catching a lot of flack about that lately. Just all his songs sound the same.
Yeah.
Or my cousin even today said, "Oh, all Yeat songs kind of sound the same." Or
no hate.
like Gunna, not Pushing P. What's the album? Whatever. This last album that he dropped.
Yeah.
Bro, that album, I was listening through it. It was like, bro, it's not all the same, but it all sounds Nav, bro.
Yeah.
Bro. Every time I listen to his new album, it's like, bro, this is one song.
Yeah, for real.
And it's just like, I think that's such a big thing right now is just like, you know, you get into this mode of like, I feel like it's almost this progression of, you know, you start rapping, you start to find your sound.
And you just stick with the
sound. And then
sound.
you stick with the sound.
And I get that.
And then a lot of times some rappers will try to switch it up.
And people don't.
Yeah, people don't like it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's almost like a lose-lose situation that I've been seeing, bro. Like,
right.
It's like, what do you do? But then I think about artists like Tyler, the Creator.
Yep.
Or Kanye.
Yep.
Like, they almost switch it up every album, you know what I mean? Like, not to say that their music's completely different every album, but it's pretty, like, especially Tyler, the Creator, it's pretty different every album.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do they do that? You know what I mean?
It's their fan base.
Yeah. I guess I hear that, but I think it's more their mind, you know? I think that's something in especially rap that is so overlooked.
Yeah.
Is the creative mind.
Yep.
I think that goes back to being in a box of, you know, you think about those guys I just brought up, like Tyler, the Creator, Pharrell, or Childish Gambino, you know? They're not just rappers. All of them will always say that. You know, you'll hear like some of the other big artists say, well, I'm not just a rapper.
Yeah.
But, bro, like, what else are you? You know what I mean? I think that's the thing. I think it's the creative mind of these specific rappers that I'm talking about, you know, that are just more than that. Because then I think about like, I guess it's kind of different, but I think about like movie makers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? There's some that are like, you know, you see a Michael Bay movie, you know what it's going to be.
Yep.
But then you think about like Quentin Tarantino, and like that is a creative mind. You know what I mean? And sure, maybe he just makes movies, but I think obviously music and movies are a little different. But it's just like
I get
how he switches it up and how his. He almost like he sells his Childish Gambino does this too. He sells his character so well.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like everything is almost. It's not about the movie, I guess what I'm trying to say. He's more than that, bro.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing, and it's just not about the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of artists, all they are is a rapper. It's all about the rap.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's to help you or whatever. Just I think that's a big thing. Maybe just keep in mind, and just it's good doing things like this, you know, to just expand your mind, you know, get creative outlets out. You know what I mean? So
100%. It's a business, and that's what I'm learning. I've got the making the music down, but okay, outside of that, what kind of ventures can I be on? And I like what you pointed out, and I think the people you named, what makes them different is they're different. They're not everyone else. They're not trying to be this person. They're not a cookie. A lot of things are just cookie cutouts.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Okay, we got a Cardi clone. Okay, we got a Sofago clone. Okay, now we got Yeat clones. Whatever it is, like people are copying styles, but the people who last are the people who change or create the styles.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, I mean, the Frank Oceans or whatnot.
Yeah.
You know? And I also think their personality, they actually are vulnerable. They're not afraid to speak on certain things, whether they speak at all. They're just genuinely liked. And because they're liked by their fans, the fans will ride with them.
Exactly.
You know? And I'm not saying live to be liked. It's just because they are themselves, they are liked.
Yeah. Who was it? You know, Uzi in this interview, he talks about like, just be so much of yourself, so unapologetically yourself that like, you know, people can't even hate on that.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I mean, you can have your opinions about Uzi, but I think that's something that he emulates really well, is just being himself. Cardi especially does that really well, of just like, screw everybody else, bro. I'm me. You know what I mean? And sure, he creates his persona and everything, but like still, even through that, he's just so committed to it, and he's so himself. I think that's a big good thing that you really brought up.
And to that, I'm kind of gonna bring it back to the addiction of like, I think that's one thing that I can sometimes struggle with is being comfortable in myself sober. Because I think a lot of what I used for was to not be myself, or maybe to try and find myself, like everybody says. And I 100%. Ended up more lost than anything else. And so one thing that I will say about my music is I do want to venture and have more topics than the addiction, although I find it hard because that is what a lot of my life and trauma came from. And you guys who listen to my music, you hear that, but I offer hope. It's not all just dark, sadness, depression, whatever. Although I may speak on those topics, it's like, okay, here's what Jesus can do and what he has done. And I know that's going to be a common topic throughout all of my music, probably for eternity, because that is my testimony. But I know I'll go through more experiences that will lead to different kinds of music. Right?
For sure.
Different stories to be told. And who knows, maybe I end up telling your story through a song, or whatever, if we start interviewing people, maybe I can throw a piece of their story into it. And so I just want to be a storyteller, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, going back to Kanye, we were talking about just his mind. He talks about that and just how I think about My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Jesus, how much he's telling a story in those albums, you know what I mean? And he talks about just like, what did he say? He was like, if I was in Shakespeare's time, essentially, like he would be a playwright. And I think that's such a good mindset to have. Like, literally, just do your art, but just like you said, just try to tell stories through it. And I think that's something that fans resonate a lot with.
100%.
And I remember that after the state fair, we were just listening to those songs about stories. You know. Those songs are always just hit, bro, because it's like, it's telling us, like, that was something huge about King Von that he was really good at. Just telling stories through the mic, bro. And so I really like that. I think you should continue to work that for sure.
Got you. And there's a lot of maturing to be happening. I'm excited for y'all to see the come up in all areas. I really hope this podcast goes well. I will be praying for that. If you guys would be praying for it, that'd be awesome. I would love to do more of this type of stuff. I think this is it's a good start.
Great start. Should we end it there?
Thank you guys for listening. Again, I am Flo, aka Florence Mays. This is my brother Cullen.
Yo.
We will be back with some more topics. And you guys have a blessed night. All right.
Like, subscribe, share.
That too.
Things. Smash that like button. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.